Ooh. Very spooky. Very spooky. Good evening and welcome. I hope that intro worked. I was trying to show off my glow-in-the-dark nails, and like every year, the camera never picks them up right. I never learn. I also never learn about these magazines. So tonight, for Halloween season, my favorite holiday, we're going to flip through this magazine called The Traveler's Guide to Cursed and Creepy Destinations. But a couple of notes first, in that I've had many requests to do a water-damaged magazine, which I am all about. I absolutely love the sound of water-damaged pages. But then I purposefully damaged this one and then realized that it was made with recycled paper. And it basically turned into wet cardboard in my hands. And as it dried, the cover started to come apart. And I'm finding pieces of it all over our house. And then the cover fell off. So the pages finally dried and they're fine, but this cover is really sad. So we're going to take it off now. And yeah, it's really bad. Goodbye, cover. All right. Second, I never learn with these magazines because I always think, oh, that's perfect for my channel for Halloween, a travel magazine about spooky places. But then I realize I'm like getting rid of the cover stuff. I hate these kind of magazines. And I'll show you why. Let's flip over here. Also, look at this. I want to believe 58% of Americans believe in ghosts, which is me. 41% believe in aliens, which is not me. 26% believe in telekinesis. 21% believe in Bigfoot. And 17% believe in psychic ability. But anyway, I'll show you why I hate these kind of magazines. Because we start off with Houses of Horror. Right? And immediately we're met with a hoax. And then over here is another hoax. And another hoax. And like, I was like, great, right off the bat, just like proven hoaxes. Like, as cool as Amityville is, it's not real, it's all fake. Sorry to burst your bubble if you believed in the Amityville house. It is not real. And then I was like, oh, well, Winchester Mystery House, that's pretty real, I've been there. And then look, it says it's in San Diego, and it's very much not. It's in San Jose, California. Yeah, there's a couple of typos and things in this magazine, but you know what? We're just gonna go with it. Also, I ran a community poll if this should be soft-spoken or whispered, and it was pretty even, so I just decided I'm gonna try to do both. Try to make it extra spooky. So let's read about the Winchester Mystery House. If you've never heard of it, it's so fascinating. Like I said, I've been there. It's so cool. It says, trying to read through these crinkles here. When gun magnate William Wirt Winchester, sole owner of the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, died of tuberculosis in March 1881. He left his grieving widow, Sarah, with a half share in the family business, as well as an enormous fortune of $20 million. According to legend, Sarah visited a spiritualist, where her husband's ghost told her that they had been cursed by the blood money that they had made from selling their rifles. The medium told her that in order to break the curse, she needed to build a house for them all, but that as soon as she stopped building, the spirits would catch up with her and she would die. Although the Winchesters had been based in Connecticut, in 1884 Sarah crossed the country to San Jose in California, where she had bought an 8-roomed farmhouse and 140 acres of land. Over the next 38 years, Sarah worked tirelessly on her complex building project, employing dozens of local craftsmen who were given daily instructions to add to the labyrinthine building. Alongside secret doors, secret rooms and secret doors, trapdoors, staircases, and doors that led nowhere, and other peculiar and pointless features, Sarah insisted that her house feature her favorite spiderweb motif, as well as the number 13 to ward off the evil spirits. By the time she died in September 1922, her mysterious house was 7 stories high and incorporated 47 staircases and fireplaces, 2,000 doors, 10,000 windows, and 6 kitchens. It's not known precisely how many rooms there are, but the closest estimate is 160. Yeah, they found a bunch of rooms in the attic. Well, it was locked down during COVID. Isn't that crazy? Within just a few months of her death, the house was opened to the public, and although there have been no recorded sightings of ghosts, many have reported feeling extremely unsettled as they wander deeper into the labyrinth of rooms, especially on the 3rd floor, where Mrs. Winchester's servants once lived, and where a few visitors have reported hearing disembodied footsteps and whispers. Like you might hear my brother outside at the door. If you hear footsteps and noises, that's him. Or maybe it's my cat that he's supposed to be babysitting while I'm doing this. Let's see what else we can find. This is a good one right here. Rose Hall Great House. This is a great story. This is in Montego Bay in Jamaica. Jamaica's most famous house is Rose Hall, an iconic Georgian-style plantation mansion. Set in idyllic grounds, it's home to an 18-hole golf course named after the estate's ghostly White Witch. The story goes that Annie Palmer, born to English and Irish parents, was orphaned and raised by a black nanny who taught her dark magic and voodoo. Ooh. She then used this to murder her unfortunate husband, John Palmer, when she moved into his home, Rose Hall. Not content with that, she plied her deadly sorcery on 2 subsequent husbands, as well as a series of male slaves that she preyed upon, until she was killed herself by a powerful magician named Taku. Legend says that she now haunts Rose Hall, riding her horse around the grounds or appearing on balconies. Unfortunately for ghost hunters, it seems that legend has had a little help from fiction in the shape of the 1929 novel The White Witch of Rose Hall by Herbert J. Delisle. The gorgeous Rose Hall Great House, however, is happy to offer day and night tours about the legend along with its other amenities. And here's Rose Hall. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? So we're just gonna flip through and read random articles if you haven't noticed. Now here's the thing with haunted hotels, sleep with one eye open, is that every haunted hotel story is exactly the same. Every single one. It drives me crazy. There's always a mystery room that's, especially haunted, and there's always like a haunted, like the ghost of like some servant or some bride. Like they're all the same. So let's just pick one. I promise you they're all the same. Why don't we do this one? This is in India. The Savoy Hotel in, where's this? Mussoorie in India. India's hill stations in the foothills of the Himalayas are cloaked in both mist and mystery. The Savoy Hotel in lush Mussoorie is no different. Built in 1902, the English Gothic luxury retreat has had many famous folk sleep in its beds, from British colonizing officers to Indian leader of the nationalist movement, Jawaharlal Nehru. However, we'd say the hotel's most infamous guest is the specter of Francis Garnet Orme, a spiritualist who came to stay in 1911 but was found dead in her bed. They're all the same. Investigations revealed that the spiritualist had been poisoned with cyanide. Garnet Orme's companion was suspected of the poisoning, but was acquitted. However, the plot thickened. The doctor who examined Garnet Orme was also found poisoned a few months later. The case was never cracked, but it captured the attention of British author Rudyard Kipling, who relayed the story to then-aspiring writer Agatha Christie. She penned Poirot's first adventure, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, based on the murder at Mussoorie. And there's the really pretty building there. Yeah, all the haunted hotel stories are the same. Let's see. Now here we go. I'm down for this. Creepy castles. I should also say that, like, I do believe in ghosts. I do believe in hauntings, which makes all the fake ones more frustrating for me. Maybe at the end I'll tell the story of when I saw a ghost at a hotel. If I remember at the end. Let's find a good castle to read about. Oh, this is a famous one here. This is Lep Castle. Really famous haunted castle. This is in Coafoley in Ireland. I probably mispronounced that. Claimed to be the most haunted site in all of Ireland. Lep Castle hides a dark and treacherous past behind its walls, allegedly built on the site of a Druid initiation site, which was chosen for being the crossing of two ley lines. It is claimed that the barrier between the physical and spiritual realms are particularly thin here, resulting in paranormal activity that exaggerated the aura, both good and bad. Even before it was built, the castle was bathed in blood, condemning the site to negative paranormal activity. Built by the O'Bannon clan in the 13th century, the family was in the midst of a dilemma. Two brothers contested each other's claim as chieftain. To solve the issue, both brothers jumped into a rocky gorge, the survivor taking the title. Merely 200 years later, the Earl of Kildare attempted to seize the castle several times, the last attempt succeeding in destroying part of it. The castle soon landed in the lap of the O'Carroll clan. The O'Carrolls, too, were engaged in a serious sibling rivalry. Following the death of the chieftain in 1532, two sons feuded over the right to lead. One a warrior, the other a priest. Both claimed that it was their right. One day, as the priest held mass for some family, his brother stormed in, outraged that the priest had started the mass before all of the family had arrived. He leapt toward the priest and plunged his sword straight through his heart. The priest collapsed over the altar, soaking it in his blood. To this day, the ghost of the priest has been seen around the chapel. It's not just the priest whose spirit remains at Lep Castle. The ghosts of two young girls had been spotted at the site, usually seen playing together. Others have reported witnessing one of the girls falling from the battlements, where the other has been seen dragging a deformed leg behind her. These sisters, Emily and Charlotte, were thought to have lived here in the 1600s. More inexplicable, perhaps, is the hybrid phantom that roams the grounds, apparently as big as a sheep, but with the face of a human. This demon emits the foul stench of rotting flesh. If that's not bad enough, in place of eyes, the demon has empty black pools. Nobody can explain its terrifying presence, but it has since been named the Elemental, and some theories claim that the spirit calls back to the days of the Druids. Thankfully, it's said that the Elemental doesn't appear unless you provoke it. Even today, the castle's current owner, Sean Ryan, reports curious goings-on. Currently undergoing renovations, Sean has reported that ladders have been pushed from walls, as well as other unexplained accidents that have resulted in workers' broken limbs. And here's Slip Castle. I feel like the sounds of the pages aren't as pronounced either, but they're still nice. Let's see. Oh, Houska Castle isn't bad. Why not? Let's do Houska Castle. Houska Castle is in Blatsy, Czechia. About 50 kilometers away from Prague stands a castle that seemingly serves absolutely no purpose. Houska Castle was built in the 14th century by the Bohemian ruler Ottokar II. The castle changed hands several times, enjoying a Renaissance redesign in the late 16th century before falling into disrepair in the 18th century. By the 20th century, the curious legend of Houska Castle had attracted the attention of one particular group of people, the Nazis. Unlike other fortresses of the period, it wasn't meant to house the king. The castle wasn't near any trading route, and there was no access to water. Defenses were built inside the castle rather than outside. Instead of keeping people out, it seemed like the castle was meant to trap something else in. According to lore, this apparently pointless construction was in fact built over the gates of hell. A bottomless hole had existed at Houska for centuries, a gateway for demons and evil beings to enter Earth and terrorize people. The area has long been avoided by locals, and even to this day, the castle's given a wide berth, with only the inquisitive daring to set enter. Okay. Above this fateful hole stands the chapel, dedicated to none other than the leader of God's army, Archangel Michael. Frescoes decorate the walls, but their gory tales give an insight into what lurks below, with left-handed demons cleaving their way out of the scenes. Is there a picture of that? Not really. That's unfortunate. However, before the chapel's construction, the hole was involved in some sinister experiments. Attempts were made to fill the hole with rocks, but no matter how many rocks were thrown in, it never seemed to fill. It's alleged that one duke summoned prisoners who had been condemned to death and offered them a pardon if they agreed to be lowered into the hole. Many agreed, expecting to escape with their lives. They were mistaken. There was silence as one man was lowered down. Moments later, his uncontrollable screams echoed up from the depths. As he was hauled back out, they discovered his hair had turned white, and he'd aged several decades. They never found out what was in there. It drove the prisoner to madness, and he died days later. Houska Castle's secrets don't end there. Many visitors claim to have experienced supernatural encounters, from the ghost of a woman that stalks the corridors to curious animal-like presences. It's these stories and supernatural sightings that struck a chord with the Nazis from 1939 to 1945. Houska Castle was home to occult experiments, but records are destroyed and it's not known what happened here. However, several skeletons of Nazi officers were discovered during renovations. Oh, that's weird. Bizarre. Let's see what else we have. Oh, Chateau de Brissac wouldn't be bad. Here's Himeji Castle. This actually has a really good haunted story. Let's do one more castle. Himeji Castle. This is in Hyogo in Japan. Himeji Castle, first founded in 1333, is so beautiful that it is commonly also known as the White Heron Castle because its elegant, distinctive white facade is said to resemble a heron soaring through the sky. However, despite its tranquil appearance, Himeji was designed for war. The castle boasts a unique defensive system that involves multitudes of loopholes, allowing defenders to rain arrows down on their attackers, as well as a perplexing maze of paths around its keep and walkways that go back on themselves. Meanwhile, the distinctive Kawara ceramic tiles on the roof were also said to be imbued with magical properties that intended to keep evil spirits at bay and protect the building's inhabitants from attack. However, despite this magical protection, Himeji is also said to be the location of one of the most famous Japanese ghost stories, that of Okiku and the Well, which, yes, that's what the ring is based on. There are several versions of the legend, but one of the most common is that the beautiful maidservant Okiku caught the eye of her master, Tessan Aoyama, who tried to make her his mistress behind his wife's back. When Okiku refused, he hid one of his wife's precious gold plates, which Okiku had the honored job of looking after, and told the unfortunate girl that if she did not agree to his request, he would tell her mistress that she had stolen it. Unable to find the hidden plate and terrified of her mistress's anger, the distraught Okiku threw herself down the castle well, confounding Tessan, who decided not to return the plate and continued to blame Okiku for its absence. However, be seen dressed in white with her hair hanging loose and dismembered hands and feet, dragging herself out of the well, then making her way on all fours to the cupboard where the 9 remaining gold plates were kept. When she reached them, she would desperately count them and then scream in anguish when she reached the spot where the 10th missing plate should have been. Unsurprisingly, Tessan was driven mad with guilt, but still refused to return the stolen plate, with the consequence that Okiku is said to still haunt the castle to this day. Very spooky, right? All right, I'm going to cut here. Okay, my cat just came in, and it looks like he's curling up in my laundry basket, so hopefully he'll just sleep quietly and not cause problems. But you guys love it when it causes problems, so I don't know, maybe. Public specters. Ghosts don't discriminate when it comes to haunts, and with so many people coming and going inside these public spaces, it's no surprise they're teeming with poltergeists. So let's read the Kimberley Africana Library, which is in Kimberley in the Northern Cape of South Africa. Let's see what it says. Footsteps have been heard pacing this book repository, opened in 1887 as the Kimberley Public Library, as well as the spectre of a Victorian-era gentleman. The ghost is reported to be that of Bertram Dyer, who was the first qualified librarian in South Africa. While restoring the library's most valuable volumes, he also fiddled the accounts. When his fraudulent activity was discovered, he committed suicide by swallowing arsenic, a painful death that took 3 days. Yikes. All right. The cat is causing problems already, I can tell. I'm gonna go let him out real quick. That didn't last long, did it? He really tried. He's still a little cat. He's only a year and a half. Oh, we're gonna skip this because I don't believe in exposing mental asylums as haunted, spooky places. That seems very disrespectful to me. But let's do Phantoms of the Opera. Let's start with this one, Helsinki's Haunted Theaters. Obviously in Helsinki in Finland. It says 2 of Helsinki's theaters date back to the 1870s. So it's unsurprising they boast ghost stories. They boast ghost stories. The Finnish National Theatre is haunted by the ghosts of actors Arni Lepponen and Uro Salmi. Go ahead and correct me in the comments, Finnish viewers. Veer will help me, for sure. As well as a ghost known as the White Lady. Salmi murdered his actress wife in 1962 before hanging himself. Theater staff claim to have seen him carrying an axe through the backstage corridors. The White Lady wanders the same area. The Alexander Theater hosts the ghost of an army officer who died in Crimea. The bricks used to build the theater came from a fortress in Åland, which was bombed during the Crimean War, and with them came his ghost. Strange occurrences include a director who felt someone pat him on the back while he sat alone in an auditorium, and an actor who saw a blue figure floating on the balcony. Children practicing ballet also saw military boots floating in midair, which sent them screaming. Let's see. Paranormal prisons. Well, we got to talk about the Tower of London, don't we? Another place I've been. The Tower of London, of course, in London, England, UK. Prison, menagerie, execution site, arsenal. The Tower of London has seen many things. Tradition and superstition still rules this medieval fortress, with the iconic yeoman warders, aka beefeaters, patrolling the grounds, donned in red Tudor uniforms, and 6 clipped-wing resident ravens, acting as the guardians of the tower. According to 17th century belief, should they leave, both tower and state will fall. The prominent prisoners include Anne Boleyn, Henry VI, Lady Jane Grey, Guy Fawkes, and the Boy Princes, all of whom reportedly never left, which we just did a History Magazine article about the princes in the tower, which debunked that legend. But anyway, Headless Anne Boleyn wanders corridors or leads a procession down the chapel aisle to her burial site. Henry VI, stabbed while praying, appears in the Wakefield Tower of the Last Stroke of Midnight. Teenage Lady Jane Grey roams the battlements, and Guy Fawkes howls in the council chamber. And then the princes, it turns out that there's lots of evidence that they didn't actually die there. But it's not just the tower that's cursed. Centuries of violence seems to have seeped deep into the soil on which it stands. The surrounding area, historically known for its debauchery and squalor, was the hunting ground of Jack the Ripper, and a regular haunt of numerous ghosts. Let's see what else. Oh, here's another one I've been to. Alcatraz Island. We gotta do Alcatraz. Of course, in San Francisco and California. A favorite spot for dark tourism, Alcatraz was considered inescapable. During the Civil War, it housed military prisoners, and from 1934 to 1963, it served as a federal prison for incorrigible villains such as Al Capone and the original Machine Gun Kelly. Worldwide, it's notorious. Error there. Worldwide, it's notorious, but also notoriously haunted. Centuries-old Native American history documents the White Rock being thronged by evil spirits, and tribal lawbreakers would be banished here to live among them. Today, visitors report crying, moaning, deafening, clanging, and a malevolent feeling in Cell Block C's laundry room, where hitman A.B. Maldowitz, the butcher, was killed in 1940s by a fellow inmate. The stories don't stop there. While Alcatraz was still operational, guards reported cannon fire and gunshots so real that they believed the prisoners were escaping. In the old hospital ward, screams echo from inmates who are secured to a table until they calm down. If this wasn't enough, in D Block, the most haunted section, a man was found strangled in cell 14D in the 1940s. Rumor has it that the night before, he was screaming that a glowing-eyed monster known as the Thing was trying to kill him. Many visitors report being smothered in a horrific sense of cold, and the cell's often almost 20 degrees below the rest of the block. Yeah, it's an amazing site. Highly recommend you check that out if you're in San Francisco. Yeah, we're gonna leave the graveyards alone too, because I also think that that's pretty disrespectful, to be honest. Although Père Lachaise is pretty interesting, but yeah, I still believe in respecting. And the Recoleta is beautiful in Buenos Aires, but yeah. But see, then what is it where like, oh, a mausoleum or an ossuary? I don't feel like, maybe it's because they're not really like laid to rest like in other places. Let's do the Roman catacombs. Catacombe di Roma. Of course, in Italy. The Romans, it seems, bought into the ideas of placing the city's dead in vast burial grounds beneath the streets long before the Parisians. As far back as the 2nd century CE, the bodies of pagans, Jews, and early Christians were taken to bespoke caverns excavated underneath Rome. Early Christians preferred burial to the pagan custom of burning, but as Christianity was forbidden by Roman law, they had to place their dead in secret vaults outside the city walls. When Christian persecution finally ended in the 4th century, Roman Christians continued to use catacombs under the city, right up to the 5th century. There are around 60, many only discovered in the last few decades. 5 are open to the public: the catacombs of San Sebastiano, San Callisto, Priscilla, Domitilla, and Sant Agnes, with a combined length of more than 30 miles, containing the remains of thousands of ancient Roman citizens. Individual niches often have inscriptions still visible and carved into the stone, and some larger mausoleums have entire families interred. San Callisto is host to Crypta del Papi, the Crypt of the Popes, a grander series of graves of holy men. The catacombs of Priscilla on Via Salaria contains significant Christian frescoes and is a good catacomb to explore first. Ancient artwork lines many catacomb tunnels, and the final resting places of more affluent citizens can be particularly elaborate, so much so it's strange to speak of the Roman and the very aesthetically different Parisian catacombs. Yeah, why is it that a graveyard I'm like, oh, that's too disrespectful to talk about, it's being haunted, blah, blah, blah. But a catacomb, I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's see, subterranean spooks. Let's read about the Buenos Aires Metro. Pasco and Alberti Station. Opened in 1913, because we were just talking about the Buenos Aires Metro in a video earlier this week. It's funny. Opened in 1913, Buenos Aires Metro Line A is the oldest in South America and allegedly the most haunted. Its rushed construction claimed several workers' lives when a wall in Alberti collapsed. And since then, travelers passing the station on the 2330 train can spot their shovel-wielding ghosts. After midnight, the silhouettes of passengers in period dress materialize on the platform, and at the same time in Pasco, something kills the security cameras. And when they come back on, workers are chilled by translucent figures glaring into the lens. Oh, that's super cool. Oh, that's spooky, spooky. I like stories like that. Ghost towns. Ooh, well, we have to talk about Pripyat, which there's that little thing here, not safe to travel. And not necessarily because of the radiation, but because it's currently occupied by the Russian military for whatever reason. Let's read about it if you don't know about Pripyat. This is in Kiev Oblast in Ukraine. Pripyat lies 62 miles away from Kyiv in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, made famous in 1986 when reactor number 4 at the nearby Chernobyl nuclear plant exploded. The city was only founded in 1970, but it was abandoned after the inhabitants were evacuated, and nature has reclaimed vast swaths of it. You can only enter Pripyat on a licensed Chernobyl tour. Guides are essential to keep you safe, and they follow the strict guidelines regarding exposure to radiation, although the level in the area open to tours is less than you'd get having an X-ray. The amusement park in Pripyat's most iconic spot, although the abandoned swimming pools and football stadium also offer unique photographic opportunities. The basement of the abandoned infirmary is highly radioactive thanks to the firefighter uniform stored there, but the hospital is worth seeing, though perhaps from outside. Yeah, I'd love to go there someday. Like, Chernobyl's one of those fascinating rabbit holes that I dive into every once in a while. I don't know what it is about nuclear accidents that piques my interest. Ill-fated islands. Let's head back to Italy, read about Poveglia, because this is another one of my favorite haunted places. Poveglia Plague Island. This is in the Venetian Lagoon. Between Venice and Lido lies one of the most haunted islands in the world. A quarantine station for the ill in the 18th century, it's likely there are mass graves containing the remains of plague victims across the island. As yet uninvestigated, in the 1920s it became the site for an asylum where a doctor allegedly tortured and crudely lobotomized patients, then jumped from the bell tower after being driven mad by ghosts. You see, the haunted mental institutions give me the ick. Now Poveglia lies abandoned and visits are strictly prohibited, but that hasn't stopped many dark tourists. In 2016, 5 Americans supposedly tried to stay the night. It was that Ghost Adventures. Only to get so creeped out they had to flag down a sailboat, so it's probably best to just snap some pictures from a water taxi. I wish they talked more about the actual ghosts there, because there's some neat stories coming out of Poveglia from those few that are allowed to go there. Cursed landscapes. Ooh, should we read about Dyatlov Pass? I don't know, that's kind of been debunked too. Oh, here we go. Nahanni. There are some crazy stories out of Nahanni National Park. This is in the Northwest Territories of Canada. This impressive UNESCO World Heritage Site, known as the Valley of the Headless Men, can only be accessed by float plane or boat. At the turn of the 20th century, 2 brothers were lured into the mountain range thanks to the promise of gold. But their second venture from Alberta proved to be fatal. The duo's skeletons were found 3 years later, decapitated beside the edge of a river. The valley in which they were discovered has ever since been known as Dead Man's Valley, its river earning the moniker Headless Creek. Another prospector was also found decapitated over a decade later, and Royal Canadian Mounted Police have indicated there have been others who have met similar fates, with numerous folks vanishing entirely, as well as missing people and heads. The mountain range has seen a number of mysterious plane crashes, leading to the range earning a second nickname, the Funeral Range. If that's not sinister enough, more recently, the Nahanni has been subject to numerous UFO sightings, evidence of Bigfoot activity, and even whispers of an extinct predatory bear-dog hybrid. Oh goodness, what is this called? The Amphicyonidae. The Amphicyonidae, still lurking in the valleys, despite officially dying off over 2 million years ago. There's this beautiful park that you're not allowed to visit. I mean, mainly because it's very sacred ground for Native Americans, but they don't even go there because they believe it's super haunted. And we see why, right? Oh, here's another place I've been. Salisbury Plain. This is, of course, in Wiltshire in England. Stonehenge, the mysterious, stupendous Neolithic stone circle erected around 2500 BCE, is undoubtedly the plains' claim to fame. But the land has more to offer. Case in point, the lost village of Imber, permanently evacuated in 1943 so troops could prepare for D-Day. Laughter and chatter echo after dark near the old pub. The scent and warmth of log fires drift on the air, and buildings ring with the clang of Albert Nash's, the village blacksmith, who post-excavation died of a broken heart. Hammer and anvil evacuation, he died of a broken heart. Further afield, the flying highwayman Thomas Boulter, hanged in the 1770s, rides at breakneck speed across the plain before vanishing into the mist. In Salisbury Cathedral, the noose which hung Lord Starleton sometimes reappears over his grave where it was left after his execution. And whenever a bishop of Salisbury is dying, officially documented in 1911. What the? Okay, that's weird. While dazzling albatross-like birds fly without flapping their wings or perch on the cathedral's spire. These aren't the most horrific, tortured phantoms, but they do make you want to explore the history of Salisbury Plain. There's Stonehenge right here. It's so pretty. Let's see. Should we read about Point Pleasant? Oops. A page fell off. That's okay. Yeah, this magazine is done after getting wet. This is in West Virginia in the USA. Curses, winged creatures with hypnotic eyes and mysterious visits from men in black. Point Pleasant's history is anything but pleasant. Things don't get off to a great start for this unassuming riverside town when in 1774 beloved Shawnee warrior Cornstalk, his son, and 2 other tribe members were executed by Revolutionary War fighters while carrying out a peace offering. Cornstalk is said to have cursed the new settlement, and it has suffered floods, fires, plane crashes, bridge collapses, and freak lightning ever since. And there's more. In the 1960s, the town saw a spate of weird sightings of the Mothman, a human-like creature with wings who terrorized rooftops, cars, and pedestrians. And in reports of visits from federal agents to hush witnesses. And one thing's for sure, the Mothman Museum and yearly Mothman Festival is a feast for fans of the freaky. That's my sister's favorite cryptid. I had to bring up Mothman. I think my favorite cryptid is coming up later. Let's see. Dare you visit the Witch's Cave? Oh, here's the Bell Witch. Or Mother Shipton's Cave. Ooh, which one should we do? They're both good. Let's do the Bell Witch Cave. This is in Tennessee, the USA. The Bell Witch is perhaps North America's most famous haunting, in which a spirit tormented the Bell family between 1817 and 1821. Unlike other spirits, the Bell Witch was quite a chatty character, identifying herself as Kate Batts, a disgruntled former neighbor with a grudge against the family. Batts supposedly claimed culpability for the death of the family patriarch, John Bell, although other evidence suggests a much less otherworldly death by arsenic poisoning. The cave is on the Bell family's original property, and in some legends, the witch is said to have assisted a lost child to safety, demonstrating a kindness at odds with her reputation. Some believe she still lives in the cave, and visitors have captured orbs and reported strange groans, thumps, and screams. Is Kate showing off for tourists? Let's see. I don't believe in the Bermuda Triangle. You know why? Because the amount of spooky things that have happened there is, you can chart a triangle anywhere in the ocean and you'll find just as many disappearances and shipwrecks and things like that. It's, I think it's really hyped up. Loch Ness, that's also a hoax, but it's fun, isn't it? Formidable forests. See, that's what I'm about. If you see my channel, you know I love haunted forests, but we're obviously not going to talk about this forest. We're going to talk about Hoia-Baciu. This is my favorite haunted forest. This is in Transylvania. Romania is full of haunted places. Just see page 48. Oh, that was back there. But nowhere in Transylvania is quite so supernaturally charged than Hoia-Baciu Forest. In fact, it might be the creepiest forest in the world. Located just outside the Cluj-Napoca. I said that way wrong, but this 250-hectare stretch of woodland has everything from UFOs to vanishings and ghosts. Supposedly, alarm bells started ringing when a shepherd went missing here with 200 sheep, and a girl once disappeared in the woods, only to be found 5 years later, as if she'd not been gone a day. In 1968, a military technician photographed what looked like an extraterrestrial spaceship hovering over the clearing, the forest's most frightening spot. Many of the trees in Hoia-Baciu grow in peculiar ways, twisted, contorted, gnarly trunks that often spiral clockwise and cannot be explained by any scientist. Bizarre noises, footsteps, sensations you're being watched, shadow figures. Hoia-Baciu has it all. Oh, I kind of got chills. Look, here's a forest in Latvia, okay? How many times have I done videos on Latvia and looked at the forest and been like, this place is creepy? See, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. Okay, here's my favorite cryptid here in the Pine Barrens. There he is right there. The Jersey Devil. It's obviously in New Jersey. This enormous stretch of woodland has several stories hidden within its dense evergreens. There are the ghost towns, former colonial towns, now relics of a bygone era, left to disintegrate once coal was found in Pennsylvania. The most famous Pinelands legend is the Jersey Devil. This cloven-hooved, bat-winged creature with devilish horns, a forked tail, and clawed hands was actually spawned by a human woman. Mother Leeds gave birth to a seemingly normal 13th child, but it morphed into a goat-headed creature, let out a hideous scream, and escaped up the chimney into the pines. Many suspected that Miss Leeds was a witch, and the child's father, Satan himself. Just like Bigfoot, many believers in the Jersey Devil propose that rather than a devil bore by a witch, he's simply an undiscovered species of animal who has long made the vast remote wilderness his home. The Jersey Devil has a few pals. There are whispers that pirate Captain Kidd is buried treasure on these Atlantic shores and still haunts the nearby beach, often seen with the devil. A golden-haired girl has also been spotted with the infamous cryptid. Rumor has it that she fell in love with the Jersey Devil's son, but her father wouldn't allow the union, prompting her to. I think I can't say that word enough times. I'm gonna get flagged. Other ghosts in the pines include the Black Doctor, an African-American healer who was supposedly banned from practicing medicine on account of his race. Forced into seclusion in the Pine Barrens, he studied textbooks and native remedies and uses his knowledge to help all those he comes across. They don't talk about it here either, but this Jersey Devil sightings are like crazy. Like, surely it's mass hysteria, but they're pretty wild stories. Alright, this is the last category where a page fell out about macabre museums, and I'll give the magazine props here that there's no hoax museums here. How about the Museum of the Mummies? We'll finish on this one. This is in Guanajuato, Mexico. El Museo de las Momias, the Museum of the Mummies, was opened 50 years ago, but it wouldn't exist if not for a historic tax discrepancy. This tax was payable on bodies, and when some families didn't pay it, bodies were disinterred. Many were the victims of a cholera outbreak in the 1830s. Some were taken to a local building to be stored, and the dry climate led to natural mummification. Soon, cemetery workers started to charge locals to look at the bodies. Today, you can see some 60 of them. Yeah, I don't know if I'd visit that, but that is interesting. All right. And no Hoax Museums here. Here's the page that fell out. Museum of Curiosities, Museum of Shadows. Pretty cool. All right. That's going to be it for tonight. How did this, like that? Okay. That will be all. Look at all these pieces of the cover just hanging out everywhere. But yeah. That will be all for tonight. So, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a very spooky, safe, and fun Halloween. Look at this mess. Just and I hope, oh my gosh, I hope that you have a good night. Does this make a good sound? Oh my gosh, it does. Hold on. Did I just find like an ASMR gold mine in this busted cover? Hold up, let me get a big piece. There we go. Okay, what fits the microphone? Okay, what the heck? Oh, I said I'd share a ghost story here. Okay, here's the story as all of this is raining down on me. Oh my gosh. Here's my ghost story, okay? I was staying in Orlando, Florida for a convention. And like you do, okay, I'm making a huge mess. I hope you like the sound. As we did back then, we had like 9 people to a room. And I was sleeping in one of the beds with one of my friends. And most of us were sleeping on the floor, right? So one of my friends, her name, okay, I'll say her name. Her name is Sarah. It's a generic name, but her name's actually Sarah. She has a mind. I hear her laying on the floor going, like shivering so loud you can hear like her teeth chattering and her breath coming out all ragged. And we're in Florida and I'm like sweating so hard. It's so hot in that room and she's down on the floor just shivering. I can hear her at the foot of the bed. So I was up late because we were about to go to Universal Studios and I'd never been and I was too excited to sleep. So I'm laying there listening to her shiver on the floor. And as I'm about to be like, Sarah, do you need a blanket? I saw this white figure rise up from the floor. It was a lady, long hair. And she just floated out of the room to the door and disappeared. And then Sarah stopped shivering. So when our alarm went off, I was like, guys, I saw a ghost. And I was like, Sarah, were you cold last night? And she was like, no, I was sweating. It was so hot. And I was like, what the heck? What the heck did I just see? Like a straight up ghost at this resort in Orlando. So that's my ghost story. So I believe in ghosts. I've had many. That's just one of the many spooky experiences I've had. I've had many ghost encounters. That's just the most vivid one. The one that I just saw with my own eyes. It was so weird. But anyway, I hope you all have a safe Halloween and have lots of fun. I'm going to go live on Halloween, so I hope you'll join me.